Yeah, I was born in Casablanca, and my name is Stein. I'm called Mimi since I remember myself. And I left Morocco when I was about 12 years old.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about your father, his name, and where he was born?
My father's name was Joseph, and he was born in Morocco. Unfortunately, I lost him when I was about 10 years old, no, almost 11, and he was only 56 years old when he died.
What did he do for a living?
He was a shoemaker.
Okay. Can you tell me about your mother, where she was born, what her name is?
Yeah, my mother was born also in Morocco. Her name was Esther, and she married my father. She was from a very all rabbinical descendants, including her father, and she had 7 kids, and I'm the one before the youngest one.
Okay. Can you tell me how your parents met each other? Do you know the story of how they met each other?
Not really. It was just a little. That was a made up. They were actually. Shidduch, yeah. I couldn't think of the word. Yes. So actually, it was a shidduch, and actually they had a very beautiful life together. They had a really nice marriage.
So
it's okay.
Okay. So can you tell me the positive memories that you have from your childhood? Anything that you remember as being joyful, within the Jewish community or not, separate from the Jewish?
Oh yeah. As I remember, I actually really enjoyed. Lots of my friends were, and the school. I was in a French school. And while I was in school, I was going to Scouts, and that was actually for Jewish kids, Scouts. And that was a wonderful thing to have, because every summer we would go to Rabat, which is the capital of Morocco, for 3 weeks on camp. And that was something that I really enjoyed, and looking forward to it all the time. And that was something that really made me think more about my identity as a Jew. They really helped me to understand a lot of the things that at home we don't really always talk about it. But I just realized in the Scouts what's my identity as a Jew was.
Did your family live in a Jewish community in Casablanca?
They did, yeah. They call it the Mela, so that's where most of the Jews actually lived, except for the very wealthy ones that lived actually outside in the Mela, which is, I think they call it the ghetto maybe, and that's the Mela.
The Jewish quarter.
Yeah, that's a Jewish ghetto, but they were actually, would not say actually, it was like probably 70% Jews, but there were like about 30% Arabs that lived. Actually, they were neighbors, and so we were assimilated with them. But I could but I remember that being a lot of Jews in my streets, everywhere where we moved on, we had quite a few Jews that lived there. So.
What language did you speak?
Arabic, and because I went to French school, I was lucky to really learn French. My mother, unfortunately, never went to school, so she did not know French. But all my brothers, my sisters, we all went to l'Alliance Française. So, and that was because of the French colony. We were exposed to the French schools, and that's how we ended up.
Did the Jews and the Africans in your community get along? Within the Jewish quarter that you lived in, you said that there were 30.
If we got along, yeah, we did. We did a lot of things together. There is always gatherings, for the holidays, for anything that weddings, bar mitzvahs. We always had a very good, actually, good community. Yes, and there were synagogues that always gathered together on the holidays, and even me, I was taken there for not on Shabbat, but on the holidays. Definitely, I remember going there.
So, did your family observe Shabbat in the holidays?
Oh,
what
yeah.
did you guys?
My family I was born into a very Orthodox family, but I do remember that the wish always, the prayers was that next year in Jerusalem, and not only Passover, they were praying for that. I remember every prayer that we had on Shabbat, they were always talking about next year in Jerusalem.
Were there Christians where you lived?
Some, but mostly, some of them, but not that many.
Okay.
In my schools, I had Christians teachers, so that's for sure. I had those.
Okay. And so your mother and your father spoke Arabic to each other?
Yes, they did. Yeah. So I was unlike some other friends that I had that actually their parents did speak French. My parents did not speak French. They spoke only Arabic, and so.
Okay, so it sounds like it was a positive childhood.
Yeah, it was very good. I was very, very attached to my father. In fact, my mother, when I would come back from school, my mother would send me with a whole meal, because we didn't go to restaurants, so a whole meal to bring him to his place where he was working. And I would probably walk 2 miles sometimes not sometimes, that's probably about how far he was. And that area where he was working, it was all Arab neighborhood, and his place, his shop was right there, and I would spend with him the rest of the day, and then would walk together back home.
Did you experience any anti-Semitism as a child growing up?
Oh yes, I have. In fact, the most one that I cannot forget, besides other 2 events that I had, is the major event that I remember. I was sitting with my father in his shop, and when we were sitting together, all of a sudden we see a few teenagers just coming with, they had like a can of gasoline, and they threw it in the shop, and they were about just to light a match, and we just jumped, my father and I, we just jumped out of the shop. And that was something that they did it, we know, because it was some anti-Semitic issue there. My other 2 that I really do remember, I was walking from school. We would walk from the school was in the much more wealthy area, and so we would walk down to where we lived in the Mela. And there was a lot of kids walking, so I remember I was walking, and then there was some kids on a roof, and they threw a stone on my head. And I remember it was opened up, and I remember I have pictures with band-aids, right? I mean, a big wound I had from that. So I was lucky. It was not much more serious than that, but I had the big wound and was taken to the hospital, and that was one thing. They would do that because we all were Jews that were walking from school, that's Française too, back home, and they knew that unless that rock, it could hit anybody else, but it hit me. So that was one thing. And one time I was playing by myself downstairs from my house, and in the street I was playing, and I was bending, doing something down there, and then somebody just came and just kicked me right there. That could have happened because these are people who just wanted me to do it, or they just maybe thought because I was Jewish and I was just trying to do that. And any time that there was any events happening in the Middle East, definitely there was we were really afraid and would lock the doors, and sometimes there were some riots against the Jews, and would be really scared, and some people were really vandalized because of that.
Do you remember any of the riots?
Oh, not the very last couple of years before I left, but I remember when I was little, but I could not remember it very, very clearly, but I do remember it was some kind of a scary times that happened. And I know it had to do with what was happening in the Middle East. Every time something of that happened.
So were you scared a lot as a child?
Yes, I have. Yes, very much. I remember even every time there was like some bad weather, for example, just something of that scared me. And I always remember that we always locked doors. And even until today, I would lock my doors at home. I don't leave my doors open. Even I was in Israel, my friends always noticed that I always lock doors. And I said that's because I have always that fear.
So that first story you told me when those kids threw the gasoline in the store, did your father go to the police? Did he try and ask for help from anyone?
Of course. Yeah, we did. And I don't remember they've done anything to those kids. They did find the kids, but nothing was done really.
So, do you think that your parents and the adults in the community felt like they had someone protecting them at all, or was it just this feeling of vulnerability all the time?
Well, actually, it was actually some mixed messages. Actually, sometimes we would feel like safe, and sometimes we felt very unsafe. And if it has to do with what's happening under the government, because the king had some Jews working for him, and there were a lot of lobbyists who were Jews in the kingdom, so that maybe that was a reason that we were a little bit more protected, but sometimes we didn't feel that way. So, yeah, that's all I...
Did you want to leave as a child? Did you knew that there was life in Israel and the United States and France? Did you want to get out of Morocco?
Again, what helped me really to understand what Israel, because Israel, I didn't know much about it from home, about Israel, but the scouts, when they found out that they are coming to get us, I don't know if you know my story. My story is that I was taken away to Israel by myself without my family. And so when they came to get us, I did not understand why just me without my family. But later, much later on, I found out what's the reason that I was taken to Israel without my family.
Can you tell me all about that?
Yeah, so I guess there were some shlichim, which is messengers that were sent. Again, later on, I found out it was from the Mossad, and that was after the documentary came about our exodus to Israel. So messengers came to families. We didn't have phones at home, so they would come from home to home and talk to the families and say that there is a way to get us out of Morocco to Israel, but the only way to do it, we have to take the kids first. And they had to convince the parents to do that. And then I'm thinking, why would if people are asking me, how can a parent let go their kids to Israel without them? So the reason that I think they've done it, and I believe that's probably why, because I thought that we'll have a better life and better future in Israel. And that was the reason that they were willing to let go kids from age 7, 8 up to 15 or 16. So that was really amazing how this happened. Anyway, so at the Scouts I had this wonderful teacher who was helping me to understand what I was going to be doing, and I remember she was been asking me, do you already have a suitcase, and how big is this suitcase? She was just trying to make me feel comfortable with it, because I really did not understand what was going on with me going away. But I was really excited to just go away. My father just passed away about a year before that, and I felt like it would be a good thing for me to do. So I was excited about going.
So what happened?
So they, anyway, after our families were willing to let go their kids, they, so we were assembled, excuse me, on June 1961, I remember. We were assembled and taken on a bus to the airport, and we were taken to Switzerland. They told the government that we were going to go to go on in a camp, to camp in Switzerland. And we did go to Switzerland. Actually, then we stayed there for about 6 weeks. I'm not sure why we stayed there that long, but we stayed there that long, and then from there they, excuse me, we were gone to Israel. And later on I understand that within 2 months, 543 kids were taken to Israel, smuggled from Morocco to Israel at the time. They had to do it really fast before the government would realize what's going on.
So when you arrived in Israel,
Yeah.
well, first of all, when you were in the camps, what were you doing in those camps?
We do a lot of activities, swimming. We were in Switzerland. It was like summer, but the snow right on the top of the Alps, and we were swimming right there. We were in a very nice village on the French and Swiss border, and we would go and do hikes and sing and sing and whatever activities I remember. Lots of hiking I remember we used to do there.
So just to go back, the counselor that you had in the camp in the Scouts camp, was she Moroccan or was she Israeli? What was her ethnicity?
She was Moroccan, but well educated, and she was caring for the kids in the Scouts.
Okay, so when you arrived in Israel, where did you go? What happened?
So when I arrived to Israel, they were asking me, where would you like to live? Would you like a kibbutz or a boarding school? And I did not understand what the difference at the time. I said, well, I need to be somewhere religious. That was because I came from a religious family. I said, wherever it's religious, I don't mind where it is. So I was taken to a boarding school, which is between Haifa and Afula.
Were you connected to your mother and to your siblings?
About 8 months later, my family came. They all came. My mother and my sisters, they all came, and my brothers, they all came to join us. But I was staying in boarding school, and they were taken to a mabara, which is absorption
transit camp for Mizrahi
Yes,
Jews.
yes. And that was another nice place, actually. I really enjoyed going and visiting there on vacation and weekends. But I never wanted to go back and live with my mother. I just enjoyed the life in the boarding school.
Did you experience discrimination in Israel since you were
Yes.
American?
Yeah, I have. Early and later. Mm-hmm.
How old were you when you left Israel to move here?
Here I was 33, 34, yeah.
So they convinced you, the Sachnut convinced your family to let you move to Israel on your own. Do you know how your family moved to Israel? What they had to do? They just made Aliyah with the Shtachim?
Well, they were with the help of the help of the Sheikhim, of course. Yeah, no, they could not have done it on their own. That was, they promised them they would take them afterward when they can. And I guess which I don't know exactly what happens, but I'm sure the government agreed to let go of the Jews, but that was the only way.
When you were growing up, did your parents try to protect you from the anti-Semitism? Did they tell you that the Arabs don't like us, they don't want us here? How did they relate all that to you?
Yeah, sometimes sometimes we knew that we cannot really be so trusted about. We know that every time there is anything going on, we won't be as protected. So we should be very careful. And we had somewhat a relationship with our neighbors. They were invited to our weddings, sometimes some holidays, like for example Mimuna, which is a very unique celebration of the last day of Passover, I remember actually our neighbors would come with their trays filled of goodies and come in and helping. And so there was sometimes a nice harmony between us, but sometimes it was stressful. So
Can you talk about the Mimuna a little bit? Because it's such a Moroccan.
yeah,
Like,
well,
no one else can talk about it really but Moroccan.
Yeah, well, it's actually it has become a national holiday in Israel, and that was after many years of discrimination of Moroccan Jews in Israel because they were not very well accepted. So, so the last day of Passover, as soon as the holiday is finished, so the families started cleaning because they have to take the kosher dishes out because we have different dishes. Quickly put them away, bring in the chametz dishes out and start baking mainly. They bake some stuff during the holiday because there are many baked goods that they were serving at that night, but something with flour they had to do it that night. They did the mofleta, which is a very special dish. It's like a crepe, and that's one of the things that they could do only after the holiday is done. So that's the only one. And then the whole night, the doors are open and people have goodies all around their tables, a big spread of baked goods and jams and fruit and people would come from one house to another and just come in, eat some and then go on. And it was included, anybody could come in, you don't have to know the people. So it was such a nice tradition that in Israel they got to be, at the kibbutz where I was later on in my life, 50% of the people they were from North Africa. And so we would really do that also. We would do neighborhoods of, everybody does some things and then we all just all night. And then the next day we'd go on to have a day at the beach or just a picnic anywhere in the woods. That was something that I loved about it when I was in Morocco.
Okay, so you were a child, so this might not be a good question to ask you, but it's part of it. What was left behind and never retrieved? Like, was there Jewish hospitals, Jewish schools? What did your family and your community leave behind in Morocco?
Well, my family left everything. They didn't take any actually nothing much. When they came, they had to start all over again because they could not have people bring a lot of the things. I remember then being in France, they had to stop in France, Marseille, before they took the boat to come to Haifa. I remember they bought some rugs and stuff, but otherwise for Morocco they did not.
Were they able to sell their home, their car, their jewelry, whatever, all of their assets?
No, my family was not able to sell. They had to leave it.
And they never received any compensation?
No.
What about, were there Jewish schools in your community that were left behind too? Like communal property, like synagogues and schools and hospitals?
It was all left. There was nothing really much to take with us, no.
Do you know, have you heard of what's happened to all that property? Do you know anything?
No, unfortunately, no, I really don't. But no, we never really, it's funny, that's something that I really never found out about that. We always left homes and we never could, all my family, my sister, they had a couple of sisters who were married, they had nothing.
Yeah, that's the story of all the Jews from the Middle East and North Africa.
No.
Okay. So what do you do as an adult to preserve your Sephardic heritage?
What do I do? We do the Mimuna, right? So that's a fun thing that actually we do. For my identity, I definitely make sure that we keep every holiday we can have. Our everyday life is always connected with with who I am from, where I'm coming from. I never forget where I'm coming from, even though I feel that I'm more Israeli than Moroccan. But the Moroccan culture had installed in me very strongly, which many of my friends who came at my age, they have not preserved that as much. But I'm very, very proud of my identity, but I really like the fact that I'm an Israeli too, so those two together I'm just proud of what I have in my life from those two cultures.
Have you gone back to Morocco ever?
Yes, I did. I did about 15 years ago, and I was very disappointed to see. I was in Marrakesh. Marrakesh was lovely. I thought it was absolutely amazing town, city. It's very typical of Morocco, and it had this beauty that I haven't seen anywhere else. But Casablanca was, for me, at the time when I was there, they would call it Le Petit Paris, like the Little Paris. But when I was there, it was so let go, so dirty. I went back to my neighborhood, and I have to tell a story how I found my neighborhood. I was in France, and then my best friend lives in France. She's also from Morocco. Her father still lived in Morocco, and she says, let's go and visit my father for a few days. So I said, oh, great, that would be nice. So 2 hours flight from Paris, we are in Morocco, and I didn't have the address where I lived. I don't remember where I lived in Morocco, in Casablanca, and I said, I'd love to go back and see where I lived. So we had my friend cousin, and he says, how can we find it? Would you remember anything about that place where you lived? I said, I know it was in Bebella. I know one thing, there was an oven where I remember every Friday we would bring the cholent to the oven, because we didn't have ovens in the house. We'd bring it every Friday, and also our khalas would bring them to bake there. And I remember there was an oven in that street. And he says, okay, well, we have to look for that. And he looked and he checked and he found it. And we went there, and I was so moved. I found that the oven place, it was amazing. It's still there, that oven, old, but it was there. And I found my house. But when I went to the house, it was also dark, and so everything is absolutely dirty and dark, and I just thought, I don't even want to go in anymore. And that was it for me.
Did you meet the people who lived there now?
Yeah, they were actually Arabs. They all took over. Even the street, all the cobblestones, they were all completely, you can't even, you walk, you trip, it was like really not what I remember of what I had.
So did you meet the people who lived in the house?
No, I just, what happens, I went there and I saw like 6 or 7 people sitting around something, I don't know if they were eating or something, and it was so dark, as I said, I could not see. And they said, hi, can we help you? I said, no, it's good, I just wanted to see her. And my friends, we just left. It was like, I felt very out of place there.
Yeah.
But I really was very, very happy to see that oven there. It's funny, that was my memory, I remember that story. And I'm glad I was able to see it and find it. So
it's a really special story.
Really special, yeah.
So do you have any other stories or anecdotes or even reflections on Mizrahi and Sephardi Jews and what happened? How no one knows this story. Everyone knows about the Palestinians, but no one knows about the Jews from the Middle East, North Africa.
I'm trying to remember anything really that could be interesting. I was thinking I have to think about some stories. You better think about it. Because I was kind of... I wasn't sure. Now I have to think. There's a lot of stories actually. I liked, the weddings there. There was something really nice. We always had a very unique Moroccan music. That was fun. I loved the holidays there. It was really, and especially I remember the Passover one. That was a really nice one. But I'm just trying to remember if I had I didn't have any friends that were not Jews. And that was something that was very strange, being in a country that is not a Jewish country, and you have only Jewish friends. So that can say a lot, right?
Well, yeah, but even in the United States, so many people, like I'm from Chicago and my friends from New York, it's the same thing. All my friends growing up were Jews, and my parents aren't religious, you know?
So that, oh, maybe that's what the attraction is for religion, the same, you're looking for the same. I don't remember that much, unfortunately. That I just don't have much.
It's okay.
Really, that's all.
It's a good interview.
Yeah, I hope so. I feel like maybe it was a little dry.
No, it's okay.
I just tell you about what I know about from what I saw in the movie, because some of it I didn't know that. But what happens in the 1961 actually, there was this guy who's an English guy, and he wanted to do something for the Jewish people. He says, he was 27 years old, he felt like he needed to do something as a Jew to help the Jews, and so he was sent to Morocco to do this he was helping us to get out of Morocco, the Jews, and so he was in charge of the whole operation of bringing the kids from Morocco to Israel. So he was actually sent by the Mossad.
Why did the Mossad send him?
Because they wanted because the Mossad was involved with the Jewry in Morocco, and they said, if we need to have the Jews in Morocco and North Africa to get them out of there, and that's one way they sent him there, and that's how he was in charge of the whole operation. And so he and that's what he did. He sent us to Morocco, and I was trying to so once we got to Switzerland, I remember it was night time, and so we go straight into the beds. And I remember when I said that after at my talk after this the movie that was shown about Casablanca in 1960. I said I remember going into the bed. We were in this wonderful crisp sheets and with duvets and something, and all white, and it was so amazing. And then the next morning when I get up, I look outside the window and I see the Alps covered with snow, which I never had a chance to see that in my life. The snow, we didn't have any in Morocco. And then they take us and have us sit on different tables with everything is all crisp, with a nice napkin and cloth napkins and beautiful dishes it was a wonderful actually feeling, because we didn't have all that in Morocco. We grew up in a very simple family, and that was and I really, really enjoyed my time actually in Switzerland. That was a very good experience.
Was it just Moroccan Jews, or were there kids from Tunisia and Libya and other places?
Only Moroccan Jews were with me at the time. In fact, I had also my niece and two of my nephews. Also, they left on the next one after me, like a month later.
It was smart of the Sochnut to take the kids out first, because they knew then the adults will follow.
Right, and then actually when I was in boarding school, I had a really a nice experience in boarding school. It was great. We were boys and girls, so it was not only, and we had a lot of activities that we did there. And even though it was not really Orthodox. It was Mizrahi, which was very nice, and we. Again, from there we went on a lot of trips. We toured Israel the whole, from south to north. We've known Israel for. That's why I think that's one thing is nice about boarding schools in Israel. If I remember, we were really always exposed to go on field trips all over the country.
Did you ever want to leave Israel because of the discrimination? Was it ever too much for you to handle?
No, I didn't. I just thought, that's the best place for us so far to be there, and we just made the best of it. And that's why I'm always saying, we the Jews, no matter where we came from, with nothing, we made something out of ourselves. And unfortunately, the Palestinians are still sitting in one place and crying that they are not going anywhere. They haven't done anything out of themselves, and that's why I really think that it's a major thing that I think it should be appreciated of what we did. We us coming from North Africa was nothing, and look where we are today. And while the Palestinians are just crying that the Jews are not letting them do what they need to do.
Yeah, it's a true story. Okay, I'm gonna stop it.